Sandy people, how are you doing? Welcome back to a new video. I know that the ESI video was supposed to be the next video to come out on this channel. However, it's a pain in the arse to put together, I won't lie to you. It's going to take a long while to get going, so whilst that video is in progress, I'm going to be posting some other videos as well, because as I mentioned, there is a lot to get through with this ESI video. So today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be looking at the Bookies favourites to go up and to go down in League One for the season, and that has accumulated a league table. So we're going to have a look at this table that has been accumulated by the odds to win the league, and we're going to see whether initially Sky Bet have got it spot on or absolutely wrong. So without any further hesitation, let's get straight into this. So starting off with the bottom of the League One table with 200 to 1 odds to win the league. 24th is Rochdale. This one for me is probably spot on. Rochdale are one of them teams that tend to stay up just about every single season in League One. And this summer window, they really have struggled. They've lost two of their best players already. Callum Camps and Ian Henderson have all gone. Ian Henderson, their main source for goals in the league, and you take him out of the team at Rochdale, then they're going to have some issues. And at the moment, they've barely spent any money. I think they are ongoing some financial problems at the moment, but yeah, for me, Sky Bet, I think they've got that one spot on so far. Unless Rochdale can do some business, I think they will be favourites to go down to League 2. And the same can also be said for AFC Wimbledon. Sky Bet has them in 23rd with 150 to 1 odds. These guys have finished 20th in the last 2 seasons, just about staying up. The season just gone, only stayed up on points per game system, which saw Tranmere go down instead of them. Wimbledon have been quite active this window though. They've loaned in a couple players, they've signed some guy from Brentford. They're in for a strugglesome season again, I think, and they tend to do that quite a lot over the last few seasons. But they have got a new stadium, which I'm looking forward to seeing next year if we do go to Wimbledon away. I mean, it is Charlton's only London away day, so hopefully I will be going to that. In 22nd, Sky Bet have Northampton Town, the side that got promoted via the playoffs, beating Exeter by 4-0. So they absolutely breeze their way into League One. Again, I do think Northampton will be down there this season. I think they will be in the thick of a relegation battle. Whether they'll go down though is another question. I think they have the potential to stay up in this league. I think they definitely could do it. Sky Bet has them at 80 to 1 odds to win the league. I don't think they'll be up at the top end of the table, but I do think they'll be down the bottom. But something about them makes me think they'll just about survive. And in 21st, occupying the final relegation spot, Sky Bet have gone with Shrewsbury Town. And again, this one does make sense because Shrewsbury have been down the bottom end of the table for quite a couple of seasons now. Of course, we all go back to their infamous 2017-18 season where they finished 3rd, got to the playoff final, but were beaten by Rotherham at the final hurdle. And then after that, they just collapsed, finished in like 18th and 17th or that whereabouts. Sky Bet has them to go down. Personally for me, I don't think Shrewsbury will go down. I think they'll do okay. I think they'll just about survive. They've signed 2 Huddersfield players, Recall Pike and Scott High, so I'm looking forward to seeing what those two can do. And then just about surviving in League One, finishing in 20th, is another newly promoted side, and that is Plymouth Argyle. These guys are 50 to 1 to win the league. I do think Sky Bet have massively underestimated Plymouth. I think they'll be a lot higher than that. Panuche Kamara from League 2 could be an interesting player to look at, as well as former Charlton player Frank Newball, which is quite interesting to see how he'll get on. The thing is with these League 2 sides in League 1 is that they always tend to survive. They tend to do really well. I mean, if you look back to 2017-18, every League 2 side survived. Only one of the newly promoted sides last year went down, and that of course was Tranmere, not including Bury. Of course, Bury did get promoted, but of course they were expelled. Sky Bet have only predicted one of the newly promoted sides to go down, and that's Northampton. Plymouth just about surviving, which I can agree with. I think Plymouth will be surviving. And on the same odds as Plymouth in 19th is Accrington Stanley. Now, I don't agree with this. I personally, right now, can see Accrington going down. But they survived brilliantly in 2018-19, finishing in 14th. Last season, 17th or that whereabouts, I think it was. But this year, I mean, they've lost a couple of players already. Of course, they did lose Billy Key. Unfortunately, he retired from professional football due to some personal problems. And they've also lost Ofrande Zanzala and Jordan Clark, probably 2 of their best players. Zanzala scored 8 goals for them last season, and when you take 8 goals out of a team like Accrington, you could well struggle. But they have loaned in this guy from Watford called Ryan Cassidy. He's 19 years old, and I'm actually quite excited by him. I'm excited to see what he could do in an Accrington shirt. I bet has them to just about survive at the moment. Initially, I'm tipping them to go down. 18th is MK Dons, again another one that makes sense. They struggled last year big time in 19th place. They've done quite a lot of business. They've lost a couple of players, of course. Recently they did lose Alex Gilby, arguably their best player, to Charlton. Of course, their player of the year 2 years running, a really good midfielder in this league, and he definitely will be a big miss. But one of the players that I'm really excited to see in the league this season is Richard Keogh, of course the former Derby County centre-back who had a lot of controversy in the Championship at the start of last season. He's now come down to League One, and I think he will really tighten up MK Dons' defence. Colton Morris has re-signed for the club on loan as well after his loan spell was cut short due to the season suspension. 17th, they've gone with the League 2 champions Swindon Town. I think they will be in the thick of a relegation battle as well. Whether they'll stay up again, though, is the only question. They've only signed 2 players so far. Dialang Jassimi, I think that's how you say his name, from Norwich, and also Jack Payne from Lincoln, who I think will be a really good player at this level. He's a very good midfielder. However, they have lost 2 of their best players, Keshi Anderson and Owen Doyle. Owen Doyle being the biggest surprise. How a guy who can score over 30 goals in League 2 to then leave Swindon to go back to League 2 and sign for Bolton is just beyond me. And Keshi Anderson, a very influential midfielder, has now gone to Blackpool. You take those 2 out of the side, quite big losses there for Swindon. And it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight this season for Swindon. And then we go to what I thought was at first a dodgy one. In 16th, they've gone with Doncaster. They've gone with them with 28-1 odds to win the league. And at first, I was quite surprised of this, but on further inspection of the transfer window so far, it kind of makes sense, because Donny have really not strengthened so far this window. Their only signing so far, correct me if I'm wrong with this, is Jason Lakilo from Crystal Palace, who I believe was on loan with them last season. He's now made that a permanent deal. They have lost Sadlier to Rotherham, who was one of their best wingers at the time. Last 2 seasons, they've done really well. They made the playoffs in 2018-19, got beat in the playoff semi-final. Last year finished 9th on points per game, but yeah, I was quite surprised at first to see them in 16th, but compared to the other teams around them that have done a lot more business than them, it makes sense as to why Skybet have them that low down. They do need a lot more players to come in my opinion, if they're going to have any chance of competing, because this league already is proving to be very competitive with the players that teams are signing and with the business that they're doing. Crewe Alexandra is 15th. They have been predicted as the highest ranked League 2 side, finishing in 15th, also on 28-1 odds. Crewe, obviously, they did really well last year in League 2. Charlie Kirk, in particular, was fantastic for them. If they can keep hold of him, they'll be doing really well. Their only 2 signings so far have been 2 strikers. Zanzala, as I mentioned earlier, from Accrington Stanley, he's come over to Crewe, as well as Michael Mandron from Gillingham, so they could definitely help out up top, as well as Charlie Kirk. I think, in my opinion, Crewe will be surviving, but only just. 14th is Burton Albion. Again, this one makes sense. Of course, they have lost Nigel Clough, their manager, which, if I'm honest, I probably saw coming. And they've done a lot of business going into this window as well. They've signed 2 players from Lincoln. Bostwick, I think, was one of them, and Eardley, I think, was the other. Oliver Sarkic, probably one of their most creative players, has gone to Blackpool, though he's their only departure so far. They've still got the likes of Lucas Akins. I think Burton are going to be in for quite a mid-table finish this season, though. And closing off mid-table in 13th is Steve Evans' Gillingham, and I think that they've been slightly underestimated here. Gillingham did finish 10th last season. Evans really did well. I think going into that season, Gillingham were considered to be massive underdogs, like relegation favourites or bottom end of mid-table, but they really did shock everyone by just about missing out on playoffs on PPG. Skybet has them in 13th. I think they could go up a little bit higher than that. Recently, they have signed 2 Arsenal players, Zek Medley and Trey Coyle. I think could be one of the most exciting players in this league this season. Medley in particular, the young centre-back, who I think could definitely do really well for them. Yeah, Gillingham had a really good season last year, and I think that they could potentially do that again. But it's going to be tough, as I say. This league is a very competitive league this season. And now we move on to the top half of the table, and we're starting off with one that I think Skybet have got completely wrong so far. They've got Blackpool in 12th at 25-1 odds to win the league. Some of the players they've brought in already really have excited me. Marvin Ekpateta from Leyton Orient, Keshi Anderson, as I mentioned earlier, CJ Hamilton from Mansfield. I think is a player who should have come to League One absolutely ages ago. I really rated him when I saw him play against Charlton in the FA Cup last season. His pace was unreal. His left foot is fantastic. The guy is going to be really good and a really good replacement for Nathan Delfonso. They seem to have got rid of quite a lot of their deadwood and replaced it with some really exciting players. Jay Spearing being another player that's left. He's gone to Tranmere. Of course, one of their biggest losses for the season, though, will be Armand Nangele, who sadly did not sign a new contract for Blackpool. He was heavily linked with Charlton in January, but I believe he's now opted to sign for a team in the Turkish second division, which is quite an odd one. But yeah, Nangele was slowly improving every single season. He was getting a bunch of goals for Blackpool, but sadly he's now gone. His replacement is Jerry Yates from Rotherham, who could do well, he might not. I think Blackpool are within a shoe-in for the playoffs. I really do think that. I think that they've been massively underestimated here for a 12th. 11th is Lincoln City. Yeah, I think Sky Bet have got this one spot on. I think the Imps will be in and around that mix, trying to get into the playoffs. I think they will just miss out, though. Now, this one, I can see why Sky Bet have gone with this one due to the club's situation, but in 10th, they've gone with one of the newly relegated sides, that, of course, being Wigan Athletic. Now, of course, the Latics, they are in administration. They have recently lost Paul Cook as their manager. Probably we all saw this coming at this point. He was never going to stay. The job that Paul Cook did was absolutely admirable. He performed absolutely admirably and he was absolutely incredible for them, but sadly he has not continued. Not to mention some of the players that Wigan have already lost. Che Dunkley's gone to Sheffield Wednesday. Kiefer Moore has completed a £2 million move to Cardiff. We all saw that one coming. Joe Gerhard, a player that I really did think would have a massive impact on Wigan's team. One of the most prolific and upcoming players in the Championship last season. He's gone to Leeds under Marcelo Bielsa, and it'll be really interesting to see what he can do with them. And also Leon Balogun as well. He's gone to Rangers. He really tightened up their defence. Most of their squad is still made up of the players that finished 13th in the Championship last season. Cedric Kipri, Anthony Robinson at the moment is still there, but we all know he's probably going to end up leaving. They've also got David Marshall, Nathan Byrne, Jamal Lowe, Sam Morsey, their captain, is still here as well. But recently there has been a lot of talk right now that Wigan may not be able to start the season if they're not sold by the 31st of August. It's absolutely shocking what's going on with Wigan at the moment. So I wish Wigan all the best, but I think that if they are to get a new owner in and they can keep some of the players that I've just mentioned, I think they're going to piss the league. 9th is Joey Barton's Fleetwood Town. I think compared to the teams around them, I think they will be just about missing out on the playoffs. Of course, they did make playoffs last year. Massive, massive underdog story. A club like Fleetwood to get playoffs, absolutely fantastic. They did get spanked by Wickham, though, who went on to get promoted. But some of the players that Fleetwood have got so far already, Paddy Madden, Ched Evans, Wes Burns, really good players. They're currently in talks to get Harry Souttar. He has been fantastic for them for the past 2 seasons he's been there. I think it is understood that he is in talks with Blackburn at the moment. The signings they've made so far, to be fair to them, have been very impressive. Jordan Rossiter completing a permanent move over from Rangers. Really good midfielder. Callum Camps, as I mentioned earlier, he's joined from Rochdale. Morgan Boys, a defender from Liverpool. 19 years old. I think they're taking a gamble on him. 8th is Bristol Rovers. Now, this one is interesting because Rovers, obviously, they were in and around the playoff picture back in like November, December time, same like Blackpool, but they died off massively. Of course, they did lose their manager to Mansfield halfway through the season. Some of the players they've signed already, Sam Nicholson in particular, of course, coming over from the MLS. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on, as well as a 2 centre-back signing of Jack Baldwin and Max Elner. Max Elner from Gillingham, he could really solidify their backline. Baldwin for me is a risk. Obviously, he didn't really work out at Sunderland. Well, he didn't work out at Sunderland at all. Spent last season with Salford in League 2 and he's now come back up to League 1. It's a risk with this one because he wasn't any good at League 1 when he was there, but he could find his feet at Bristol Rovers and he could change his game. But this prediction heavily relies on them keeping Johnson Clark-Harris, and I think that if they can keep hold of him, they definitely will be in and around that picture. At the present moment, Sky Bet have got this one spot on. And then just missing out on the playoffs in 7th place, Hull City. Now, I can agree with this that they will miss out on the playoffs because for me, Hull have got a massive rebuilding job to do. And they're not messing about. They're already signing a lot of players already. They seem to have spent quite a lot of money on trying to solidify their backline. Louis Coyle from Fleetwood was one of the players they've brought in, as well as Josh Emmanuel, who I think they're taking a bit of a risk on. Of course, he was playing for Bolton last season, and we all know what happened to them. They've still got Malik Wilkes, who I think will be one of the best players in the league this season, if they can keep hold of him. There's already been rumours that he's going to be leaving already, even though he signed in July. As well as some other players like Leonardo da Silva Lopez, I think will be really good at this level. And also a player that I'm going to highlight to look out for, their striker Keane Lewis Potter. I think he could do really well for them in this league. And of course, a young talent who did grab a couple goals for them at Championship level last year. I think he really could set the league alight. However, when you've got Josh McGuinness as your strike partner, yeah, you're asking for troubles there. And now we jump into the top 6 who have Sky Bet got to finish in the playoffs and in automatic promotion. Starting off in 6th place, they have gone with Ipswich Town, standing at 11-1 odds to win the league. I don't know, because they've still got quite a lot of that squad that ultimately finished 11th last year. A lot of people were saying they were going to walk the league, but they just absolutely fell apart halfway through and ended up finishing just above mid-table or in around that range. I think that they will improve upon this season, though. They've got some players already, like James Norwood. Caden Jackson, he's been linked with a Championship move recently, so he could be well out of the door. My only concern with this is the fact that they've not signed anyone. I think that they do need some bodies in there considering the fact they were 11th last year. And this league is looking very competitive with clubs already, the likes of Gillingham, Lincoln, Blackpool, Bristol Rovers, already strengthening massively from their squad this season. They're definitely going to be competing with the likes of Ipswich to get playoffs, and at the moment I'm on the fence of Ipswich. I'm not sure if they're going to get playoffs. If they are to get playoffs, I think they're just about going to scrape it. Oxford United, the playoff finalists last year who lost to Wickham, have been predicted as 5th place at 10-1 odds. Carl Robinson really has revolutionised that side. Remember, back in the start of 2018-19, they were fighting relegation, right in the thick of the relegation battle, and then turning the new year, he really turned that side around. He got them to mid-table. Last year, as I predicted, they did get playoffs, the likes of Tariq Fosu, Matty Taylor, who has completed a permanent move there from Bristol City, so he's going to be one of the most prolific strikers in this league. And they also reportedly are set to lose Rob Dickey, their centre-back as well, so he'll be quite a loss. But yeah, Oxford for me, again, I think they'll be in and about there. They'll be one of the most exciting teams to look out for this season. 4th is Peterborough, standing at 9-1 odds. I think that this prediction is solely based off the fact that Ivan Toney is still there. 26 goals for them last season. If they lose him, they've got a massive hole to fill. I think I speak for every Peterborough and every League One fan when I say it's about time that Peterborough get playoffs. So many years of Peterborough fans, you know, they've started fantastically. They've given it the big uns to other Champion League One fans saying, look at us, we're going to get promoted finally. And they just collapse and bottle it every single year. But I think that it's about time that they get playoffs. And I do think that they will be in a shoe-in, not just for the playoffs, but also for automatics and the league title. I do think they'll be in and around that range, provided they can keep Toney. And then in 3rd place, they've got the other newly relegated side. It's my team, Charlton Athletic. Sky Bet has us at 9-1 odds to win the league. I don't know. I don't know at this point if that is even spot on. I've seen already that a lot of people are doing their League One predictions early, and a lot of people are putting us to finish right at the top of the table, you know, automatics in the playoffs or that whereabouts. At this moment, if we are to get playoffs, I think we're going to be like Ipswich. I think we're just about going to scrape it, because the club is in tatters at the moment, and at this moment, the state of our club, I just can't see us finishing in 3rd or anywhere near the top end of the table. I simply can't justify putting us there. But to be fair to myself though, if I was to do a League One prediction video right now, I can't win, because if I say we're going to win the league or get playoffs, I'll be called biased. And if I say I'm not going to win the league, I'm going to be classed as negative, so I can't win anyway. But at the moment, I'm being a negative sod. I'm sorry, I don't think at this moment we're going to get playoffs. The fact is, though, we do need a lot of business. We are under a transfer embargo. We can barely sign any more players. We were lucky to get Alex Gilbey and Connor Washington over the line, but we've still got some good players still at the club. Dylan Phillips, you know, Darren Pratley, Macaulay Bonne, who I think could be our Lyle Taylor for the forthcoming season. Chuck Zanike, really excited to see him play. You know, Johnny Williams, Erhanus Chuma, Jake Forster-Caskey, Albie Morgan, who I'm expecting to get a lot of minutes, as well as some of the youth players who I'm hoping will get some game time as well. But for me, initially, I don't think Charlton will be finishing in 3rd. I don't think we're going to get playoffs at the moment. If we do, I think we'll just about scrape it. And then we move on to the top 2 at 8-1 odds. In 2nd place is Portsmouth. I do think Pompey will be in and around that playoff and promotion picture. Of course, they've been very unlucky in the playoffs recently. Of course, losing in the playoff semi-final 2 years running. They definitely will be competing for that league title this season. I definitely think they will be up there. Me personally, initially, I will actually put them to be favourites to win the league. 1st or 2nd for me. Fratton Park, cannot wait for that away day this season. I absolutely cannot wait. However, they've not been tipped as top of the table. And if I'm being totally honest, top of the table, I'm not at all surprised by it. At 13-2 odds to win the league, Sunderland are Sky Bet's favourites to win the league, and I am not at all surprised by that whatsoever. Ever since Sunderland have come down to League One, they've been predicted as favourites to win the league. But look, if there's any Sunderland fans watching, sorry, but you're just not good enough to win the league, in my opinion. You're just not good enough. To be honest, at this point, I think Sunderland will be lucky to get playoffs at this point. Like, again, they've lost a couple of players already coming into the season. Barley Mumba's gone to Norwich, one of their most up-and-coming players. To be honest, Sunderland fans, they've said they all saw this coming, but I think that's going to be a massive blow for them. The players they've signed already, to be fair to them, they've signed 2 players, Aidan O'Brien and Bailey Wright. Looking forward to seeing what they can do. Bailey Wright really tightened up their defence before until he got injured, but he's now made a permanent move there from Bristol City. And Aidan O'Brien, decent little winger for Millwall, and I think he could be a really good player at this level. Funny thing is though now, Sunderland now have 2 wingers from Ireland, both left wingers called Aidan. So, but obviously Aidan McGeady, there's a lot of controversy surrounding him. Is he going to stay? Is he going going to go. They've still got the likes of Chris Maguire, as well as Benjamin Kimpioka, who I'm hoping will get some game time this season. The only issue with Sunderland, though, is their firepower. If Sky Bet is predicting them to win the league with Will Grigg and Charlie Wyke up front, in my opinion, they've got another thing coming. Like, the two of them have just been absolutely shocking since they've come over to the club. In particular, Will Grigg, £4 million for him to score 5 goals in 2 seasons. My God, that's shocking. But anyway, I can understand why Sky Bet have put them to win the league. Obviously, they are the biggest club in the league. They don't deserve to be in this division, but they're just simply not good enough. If they are to get in the promotion picture, they will get playoffs, but I think they'll just about scrape it, like Ipswich and Charlton at the moment. They definitely need some more firepower up top, because if they're relying on Grigg and Wyke to get them promoted, not a chance in hell, in my opinion. So there you have it, guys. That is the bookies' predictions. They are the odds for the teams to win the league. What do you guys think of that? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on those post notifications so you're notified of when I post. We've just passed 2,300 subscribers. Thank you very much for that. If we can get to 2,400 as quick as we can, that'd be absolutely awesome. What are your initial League One predictions? Who's going to get promoted? Who's going to get playoffs? Who's going to get relegated? Let me know in the comments below. Are Sky Bet way off with this? Are they spot on? Let me know. This has been Tyler Renson. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you all later.